cause any further stuttering or anything, but I noticed last week when I was streaming from, or the last time I was streaming from home here this week, that my bit rate is a little low on XSplit. So I cranked it up just a little bit to see if it'll help improve the picture quality to more closely match what I am seeing on my screen, which is a pretty fast computer, so that should be fine. But we are dealing with home internet here, so. Yeah, casual start today. Hey, if you see me in Twitch chat or something, let me know. Same with YouTube. We'll check that in just a second here. This is a home edition today. Probably be seeing me from home here in the next couple of weeks. Thankfully, I've got a microphone and things to do streaming. You know, it's a lot of people in the U.S. are stuck at home right now, and we're doing work from home scenarios. And us streamers are very aptly prepared for this new virtual meeting environment we find ourselves in. Gamers in general were like, hey, we've got headsets. You bet we've got headsets. We probably have a closet full of them. So, anyway, hope everyone is staying safe out there and being healthy and doing okay mentally, physically, and in their community. So, hope you're all well out there. All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Court of the Rings here on twitch.tv/LotroStream, youtube.com/Lord of the Rings/live, and facebook.com/Lotro. I'm Lotro's community manager, Cordovan, and it's a home edition today. Yet we're playing the home game of Lord of the Rings Online. I'll be here, however, with the latest news. I can let you know what's going on. Work continues regardless of where we find ourselves. No big surprise. A lot of people are working from home right now, particularly in the United States, but really all over the world. And SSG is doing the same, just like everyone else is. Thankfully, we're in a position where it really doesn't impact us a whole lot in terms of the workflow. A few more virtual meetings, a few more kind of email chains than usual, but for the most part, we're pretty well suited to be able to do what we need to do. So things are just kind of cooking full speed ahead here on the Lord of the Rings side. We are working on a couple things. Just this morning, we took another crack at the producer's letter here, so that should be getting out in the year in which it's discussed, and let's put it that way. It should be here fairly soon. Sorry it's taken a little longer than usual this year. That's just how things go sometimes, everyone. So, deal with it. How's that for something nice to say, huh? I know it's taken too long. We know it's taken too long, and just the last couple of months, as you can imagine, have been kind of nuts. So that's what's up. The other thing we're working on is we have a small patch set for next week. Actually, not much public facing in it. Just kind of some tweaks behind the scenes and a little bit of work. Let's see, where do I have this called up? Related to the raid, but really not much. Uh-oh, something is dinging and needs to stop. What is dinging? All right, let me see what's going on here. Might be email. Okay. We are formalizing some of the internal clockwork that needs to happen, frankly, for the Virtue XP boost and Baggins's birthday stuff that we have going on. We just did that manually, and now we need to do it more formally. We have a thing that is in the works that we'll be talking about later, and like I say, not a whole lot. Really in the... I thought I saw something, though. And I just closed my email. But there is some small raid fix in the works as well, having to do with... Shoot, no, I don't see it. Anyway, there's a small raid tweak as well, and that should be set for next week. We'll have more info on that as we get closer to it. Probably expect something like Tuesday-ish for the patch on that one. But like I say, most of it is just going to be a real small, quick patch in lieu of a weekly update, and we're just kind of formalizing a few things. So it should be a pretty small patch. We do have a lot going on, however, in the game. So that's what's really cool is we've actually times are kicking butt in Lord of the Rings Online. A lot of people are hanging out with kinmates and such and having fun, and we're doing our best to support that by making all quests, instances, skirmishes, including those in expansion packs, open to everyone, through April 30th. So the basic idea there is let's just make if you want to go and play it, you can go and play it, and let's just enjoy our time together, as it were. Not much more to it than that. We are bringing the Curator back through April 30th as well. That kicked off yesterday and is now available through April 30th, so the Curator is back. There is currently a 10% Virtue XP boost going on, starting on March 26th, running through April 6th, so actually that kicked off yesterday as well. Along with the 10% Virtue XP boost, we have the Baggins birthday event. I think I'm going to be running that today. I had actually checked last night during my kin night which characters had already done it, and they all had, except for, I think, Stampion here. So I think I will be able to run the Baggins birthday event with you here during the day. So anyway, that's what we have going on, is basically we're working on behind the scenes, just cooking ahead, full steam ahead on our next game update and all that. Working on getting the producer's letter out. We have a early patch, or small patch rather, set for next week. And we've got a whole bunch of bonuses and things rolled out here just to hope you want to support each other during this time and hang out. And frankly, I think we're seeing a lot of people doing that. It's not just us who have been noticing that there's a lot more people in the game than normal, and that's been really exciting. So thank you very much for joining us here, those of you who have done so. Today, I think I'm mostly just going to run the Spring Festival, and then Baggins' birthday. This will be on Landreval on Stampion, my level 123-ish, 124 now. So I'll just kind of, it's nice to run this stuff and do Q&A kind of at the same time, because it tends to be fairly kind of shorter, easier quests and stuff I'm pretty familiar with. So fingers crossed, of course, that I don't embarrass myself again on stream. All right, let me head to our chat rooms. Yeah, we're still able to keep building our updates and all that from home. We're a tech company, so we already do a lot of the things that companies are finding themselves needing to do nowadays. So frankly, we're in a pretty good place to just keep cooking along, doing what we do. Yes. An Amiga from Twitch. Has the team discussed the recent surge in lag? Yes, as a matter of fact, we have very much been discussing that. We too have noticed. Some of it is just some of the wider environment things that are happening in the world. I think anyone who's been kind of keeping an eye out will know that some of the connections between the US and Europe have been spotty in recent weeks, and ISPs in general have had to deal with some unprecedented kind of data flow issues in recent weeks. There's only so much we can do about that. But there are things that we can do and have been taking a look at as well. We've double-checked to make sure our own game environment is solid, and it is, despite some of the lag issues in that. And we're also looking at some land block fixes that we had to revert recently. When we do roll out those fixes more comprehensively, that should make some difference. Additionally, we are just kind of keeping a look at some other things that we can look at for the kind of world building team and things. We're kind of seeing if there's anything we can do there. But really, we're just making sure that the hardware and everything is working as well as it can be, and that's an ongoing process. So, sorry I don't have a great answer for you, but to answer the question, yes, we have been looking at it. We are aware of it, and we will be continuing to do so. So the patch will be a fake one? Kind of. It's going to be a patch where you just have a very small game update, and then it's like, oh, nothing's really different. I think in the mobile or other gaming environment world, it would be, the patch notes would be something like various optimizations and bug fixes. But I really think that, we tend to provide a little more detail than that. But that's essentially all it is. It's kind of a small patch. There's one kind of neat thing in there, but we're not ready to talk about it yet. But you may, by the time next weekish rolls around or whatever, know a little more. So, hey, it's April coming up, isn't it? That's right. Next week is April, and April is Lotro's anniversary. Cool. Will the task carry all bags return soon? I will have to double check with SSG Red Panda on that. I don't personally know. Will the free transfer period between Anor and Ithil be extended to make up for time lost? If you recall correctly, it was supposed to run through the end of last year. Correct, Sarnaleth. We will have a lot more about character transfers as we get closer to them. One of those questions will specifically address Anor and Ithil. On character transfers, we've been looking at that again this week. There's a little bit of engineering work that needs to be done and a little bit of QA work that needs to be done. We need to put together basically what our release plan is for it and then roll that out. So I still think we're looking at probably a matter of weeks, not months or anything, but it still might be a couple of weeks yet, I think, before we are fully live with this thing. But I do think we're getting there. We're getting there. Nothing to announce in the race change item. I haven't heard anything about it this past week. It has been a busy week, however. Miss Thu, I wish our character transfer system and the reason we had to both take it down and bring it back up was as simple as activating a button. There would be a lot of people who'd be super happy if all they had to do was activate a button and the problem was solved. What can I say?
Will you give me a moment of your time, friend?
It's been a thing.
Could you help me with something?
Would you do something for me?
I mean, we're not, maliciously withholding it or anything like that. We want character transfers to be back as well. Trust me. We would love for this to be a former issue. Hopefully that will be in the near future. I was playing quite a bit myself. Hoppa yesterday did not notice a lot more T-posing than normal, but perhaps there's a content-specific area we need to take a look at there. L. Marcellus, will the quest pack stay locked to buy in the Lotro store until April 30th? I think that is just sort of how the process worked in order for us to enable them to be free for everybody. So I think the answer is yes, but I have to admit I haven't been personally involved in that process. I was on vacation last week. And so I don't know exactly. I wasn't aware, frankly, that they were gating it. Although I guess it makes some sense, because that would be how they would activate it to everybody, is basically turn on a billing token. So there you go. I think we're not going to do anything for April Fool's Day this year. Some people might enjoy it. We've done some things in the past, but I don't know, the time doesn't feel right. My personal community manager side of me is just like, nah,
How can I be of service?
not this year. But maybe I'm wrong. Jared, any plans to bring PvP to the legendary servers? Nothing to announce regarding Anor and Ithil. We hope to have some exciting news for you in the future. Ashakra, if I read your question correctly, next week's patch will not have anything specific to the Etten Moors in it that I am aware of. Oh, that was you, Mary, over on Facebook? Nice. Yeah, I saw that. Oh, sorry for the OCD folks out there. Let me open my Hobbit gifts. There you go. So at this point, I'm mostly looking for dire beers, and then when I'm not doing that, I'm just kind of hanging out and trying to find tweens and things like that. I actually know my way through the maze pretty good at this point, although I found myself turned around trying to find one of the 10 signs yesterday. And I had to have a fellow kin member sort of help me track down which one was the missing sign. So I'm not 100% yet, but I'm pretty good at knowing the Spring Festival maze at this point. And so hopefully I'll be able to show you that. Oh, wrong way. Good timing, huh? I have not heard of plans to add face paint to the game. That seems like that would be a neat project, though. Something that would be pretty fun. But I have not heard of any specific plans to do something like that.
What do you need?
A lot of people in here right now. Maybe that's why I'm not seeing as many beers as I would have expected. I actually tried the Brockenborings section again yesterday, and I just to see if maybe I should do it for the Spring Festival, and I kind of had to nope out of that one because I was just like, man, what did I do? No one's going to ever believe me, and nor would I expect you to. But the reality is, when I first went to the Brockenboring section of the Spring Festival to do the kind of wandering off or running along the ledge thing, I just did it right. Just did it. First time through, I just did it. It was just instinct, right? Maybe it was because of my DDO playing days or what have you, but it was just instinct. 2020. There we go. Fine. I've never been able to repeat it since. I was like, oh, okay. I thought that was supposed to be hard. How come everyone said it was hard? And then every time in the future I've ever tried to do it, I fail. So, I don't know. I don't know what I did that magical first time where I just sort of ran through the middle planks without even thinking about it. Because I guess I wasn't expecting it to be difficult. And then every subsequent time I've just bombed it. So, I don't know. I don't know.
What can I do for you?
I wish I had recorded it or something so that I could look back and see, like, what did I actually do that first time that I'm not doing on subsequent runs, right? Is all DLC free to play? Yes, it is right now through April 30th, Stefan. James, I did speak a little earlier on in the show about lag. I guess I'm not going to repeat that right now. But yes, we are aware of it and seeing what we can do. Have the new titles rewards been settled on for the anniversary? Yes, they've been settled on. And I might have even hinted at something today. Pretty subtle hint, though. I don't know. You'd have if anyone could pick up on it, but Already talked about PvP on Legendary Worlds. It's true, Canchal. Free game, everybody working from home, plus all schools closed. That's true. All of these things are accurate. Yeah, it's crazy times right now. I hope everyone's staying safe. I'm trying to not there's a lot of kind of dark humor and black humor and gallows humor type stuff going on with the coronavirus. Because, a lot of people are having their lives pretty severely upended by the whole shebang.
Hello there.
So I'm trying not to participate and take it seriously, and because I recognize that for many, while this is a oh man, I now have to deal with working from home thing, there are others who have much more serious
Lovely day, isn't
things
it?
going on in their lives, so I don't want to minimize any of that. Plus, I saw the movie Contagion, and it scarred me for life. Do not think, hey, this would be a fun time to watch the movie Contagion. It isn't. Don't. I'm telling you now. Heed my warning. Jarnik, is there a way that your account age could be set back? You've been playing since beta, but lost your account during the Codemasters transition. In terms of formal date listed on the account of starting, I think that can't really be changed. I think specifically what you're asking for is to have the Codemasters time perhaps count for the purposes of anniversary rewards. And unfortunately, that is not something that we have the ability to do. I'm sorry. All right, I better start taking my finding of tweens and such more seriously. I've got some elves to find. All right, so I've checked south. I kind of do it by halvesies. I take the south side or north side and then do the other side. Okay. Yep. I'm not doing the signs yet. Okay. Is there an event on? Yes. The Spring Festival, as well as Baggins' birthday, is also going on. There should be one around here-ish, right? Oh, terrible tween. There you go.
Hello there.
Okay. I got that wandering elf. So then, the last wandering elf is... Actually, I think the last wandering elf still may be to the south, and I think I missed the same one that I missed last time. Yay. Oh, there we are.
How do you do?
Good timing. I'll take that. Okay, sure. So, Enigma, or however you want to say your name, Enamiga, what is the official reason for picking Bilbo's birthday as an event to have live? Now, you're not wrong. There is no real reason for having the Baggins' birthday celebration currently active on the live game worlds. You can loosely attribute it to Tolkien Reading Day this week if you would like to. That may be a possibility. But really it's just a matter of it's also near our own anniversary, which is kind of nice. But there's no real formal reason for it, other than we were just figuring out, hey, is there an event we can just kind of turn on to because we can? And we settled on the Baggins' birthday. That's it. So sorry if you don't like it, I guess. Yeah, it is a little weird, but at the same time, it's an opportunity, and not everyone gets a chance to do it in September, maybe. So, hey, if you missed your chance, now you got it. So. Okay, where is that last elf? There's the one that's sitting on the bench, and I think that's the one I'm missing. I'm trying to remember. I think that's over this way. Why is it not a repeatable question? That I don't know. A question I have occasionally wondered myself, but I don't actually know why. You won't lose your person on Anor? No, you won't lose any people on Anor. Regardless of character copies and such, that'll still be available. Okay. So America has a specific password reset issue that is difficult for me to address on the live stream, other than, and I can offer this advice, someone I know recently ran into an issue with password complexity, where the password was more complex than was allowed on one area but not the other. So if that's you, if you have a particularly complex, like super complex password, maybe perhaps that's something to look into it. I'm not finding this last elf again. It's the one who's sitting at the bench, unfortunately, but I can't remember where that is now. I think I'm just going to turn in what I've got because I'm pretty good there. Sure wish I could find that last elf, though. Is it here? Yes, there we go. Yay. All right.
What can I do for you?
Sweet. Transfers, we'll have more news on transfers as soon as we can. I know it's a issue that it's something people very much want to see back. We want to see it back. And hopefully we'll have some good news for you in the near future. Oh! If you are asking about transferring from the legendary server of Anor to the non-legendary server of Evernight, and whether that will be allowed, that'll be in the FAQ that we'll be talking about. I think it'll be allowed. Not the other way around, right? But you can go from one to the other, I think.
How can I be of service?
Welcome. You've come at a most fortuitous time.
How can I be of service?
All right. Maybe I'm just confused and need to read how things work. Sounds like maybe I just said the opposite? I don't know. Duh. Okay, well, yeah, I need to look it up then. I'm not prepared to answer this question, sorry. If you've never been able to transfer from a legendary server to a non-legendary server, then I am not sure that I would expect that to suddenly change. I was just going off the top of my head. Apparently I had it wrong. Race changes I've already talked about 2 or 3 times. We know you're interested. We're not. Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of complexity to the old Codemasters to, at that point, Turbine, at the time of being merged, if I recall, with Warner Brothers. That makes some of that old account persistent stuff challenging. Especially if you weren't able to migrate your old Codemasters account during the, what was it, 2 or so years that it was available to migrate. So I don't know your specific circumstance other than to say it's not unheard of. You know, there's a number of you out there that are in that unfortunate position, but it's not something we have the ability to correct even if we, could. I'm going to say, will the game ever come to Xbox? There are no console plans. Never say never on anything, I guess, but it seems unlikely. I don't know where the cat is. Yeah, the shaking is caused by the dire beers. As to why the ground shakes and you faint, I don't know. I didn't make it. I guess they're very strong beers. So strong, in fact, that consuming them causes the ground to shake. Alright, where is that last sign? I think it just helps. It's maybe a little bit of visual feedback for the people involved to know that the dire beer in that area has been used, perhaps, while also alerting the person to kind of what's going on there. Alright, so that's done. That's done. That's done. Time to head on out again. Do pre-order codes from Lotra retail boxes still work? I believe the answer to that is no. And the reason for that is, one, I believe those things have a listed expiration date on them, but more so because they use, I think, 3 or 4 redemption systems prior tech. So the old kind of like box codes are just so old at this point that it's like trying to play a real media file on, your iPod or something like that. It just doesn't really work. So I don't think so. I don't think we honor them anymore either because they're listed as an expiration date. But you can always see if someone wants to be generous, I guess. No, Six Sauce Dude. There's a temporary issue where point purchases are not possible in the marketplace, and we're working to restore that as soon as we can. I will actually be
I
following up
await
today
your
on that with a little
service.
messaging, but
Could
it
I speak with
probably
you a
won't be too
moment?
much longer. Oh, this is the race one. Okay, let me pay attention to the race then. Oh, I get the 5-minute one? Oh man, that's gonna be piece o' cake. Okay. Try doing horse races with the war seed? Okay. The anniversary event itself is not really receiving much of an update this year, I don't think. So really we're just looking at kind of an anniversary gift and typical kind of portrait and title and other sort of things like that. So we're not ready to announce any of that stuff yet. But the anniversary, the party tree section, say, of the anniversary event, all that is not really going to be changing this year, as I understand. Yeah, so Alistair brings up a point about the old Codemasters thing that's worth me formally making sure you understand. Comes from Facebook. When they migrated from Codemasters, their new account start date was set as the migration date. They contacted Turbine back in the day when they realized they weren't getting the anniversary rewards, and they did fix it. But you had to show evidence of when you had the account originally. Thankfully, you still had your original retail game box, kept that inside. But now it's like another 7, 8 years on, at least, in another company again with different systems. And yes, unfortunately, that is exactly right. There may have been the ability for customer service to manually set that old then Turbine account start date to when Codemasters was collaborating on the game with Turbine. But that's a little bit different than whether or not someone from Standing Stone Games would be able to do that same sort of thing today. Hopefully that's clear and something that makes sense to you. I don't think that that's something we could do today, even if we wanted to.
How can I be of service? Hello, friend. Could you help me with something?
Uh, the Baggins' birthday does typically run from on the real date on the Gregorian, Doug. It does usually run in September. It's just on as kind of a weird one-off right now. Oops. Oops. What did I do wrong? Okay. Yep. Yep. All right. Yep. Follow. Here we go. So I use what I call a corners method to help me recognize which way to go in the maze. It's kind of helped me out quite a bit. Maybe I can explain it a little bit for those who might benefit. I don't think the issue, Telerian, is whether or not the person contacting customer service could prove that they had an old Codemasters account. I think the issue of saying your Standing Stone Games account now begins. We're changing your old Code Turbine account to be an old Codemasters account as Standing Stone Games. I think there's some issues there. I don't think we can do that. Hence, the situation that a few people find themselves in. I don't want to be a jerk and say you should have taken care of it back in the day.
Hello there.
But
Will you give me a
I don't know that
moment
there's
of your
much we can
time,
do to help you
friend?
now. I'm sorry. Overall, I think the transition between all the various companies and things over the years have gone really quite smoothly. But there are some, technical and otherwise considerations that occasionally come into play. So see how I'm using the corners here? That's how I help determine it. Is I use the set of posts to get to, or a set of directions to get to the kind of middle section, and then a set of corner posts to get to the end. I have not heard of anything new being added to the anniversary celebration. Hadurb. If I said last year that they were working on something, then it may have been the case at the time, but I don't think that's the case now. No, America, over on YouTube, we have long not offered a Japanese version of Lotro. And you mentioned that there was a Spanish version of Lotro, but I don't believe that there's ever been an official Spanish version. We had Korean, Japanese, French, German, and Russian at one point, right? Yeah, Russian. And maybe there were more, because I was more of a DDO guy back at that time. So maybe there was more, but that's all I'm aware of. I don't think there ever was a Spanish version of Lotro, was there? Oh, I know what you're saying, Matthias. I absolutely agree that the section in the Shire with the Brockenborings is absolutely ridiculously difficult. I don't know why it is that way, other than it's always been that way. And, yes. Yes, it is impossible. Except for the one time I did it just on instinct without any problem whatsoever. So, oh, you know what I should have done? I probably should have talked to the Spring Festival vendor and picked up the daily wrapper before I did that. Huh? Don't do this. This is an episode of what not to do. Talk to this person
Would
first.
you do something for me?
It's fine, though. You have plenty of time to get all the
Could I speak
stuff
with you a
done.
moment?
The stuff resets fairly quickly. So,
Could I speak with you a moment?
oops. Not going to do the dance off right now. I can do this one. All right. Yeah, I'm not too worried about catching up on the dailies. I've been doing just fine there. But I wish I had thought of it because I cleared out 7 quests right there. Could have been most of my dailies. Oops. Official GamePro Freak on YouTube is asking the loot person to replace the set bonus on the Remerchant Bjorning raid sets. I appreciate you don't like them. I have not heard of plans to do that. Alright, couple more cattails here. Where am I seeing those things? Let's see. Hours here. No, I have no idea what the short-term plans are for classwork. Other than to say that I know that Vassin wants to do a bunch of stuff. But how his schedule is going to allow for that, wouldn't want to speak to that today. All right, let's sure. Oh, this guy. Yeah. If you, like me, have difficulty figuring out when you're in the middle of this area which way to go to get to the maze, and the idea of east is too complex for your brain like mine, it helps me picture it by thinking it's past where you pick up the spring wine. So if that helps, maybe I've helped you. I have not heard. Maybe Druid's Fire knows, but I think Corey is streaming today. I've not heard anything about him not. But that's actually a good point, though. I've got about 10 minutes left. I've managed to kill most of a stream here with just kind of putzing around and things. So, what else do we got that I can mention? I wanted to actually take a couple minutes since I was doing some at-home work to have show off a few things before the stream ends. Maybe see if I can find the cat. I will have to try the horse races on a war steed. That's interesting. I've never thought about doing that, but I may have to do that. I don't know, Nathan, if it's a Minnesota thing or if it's just a me thing, but I do use the word putz. I like to putz around. I don't know. Maybe it's just something I picked up from family or something, but it's just a phrase. I use it all the time. I like the phrase. I'm just putzing around. I don't know why I'm like this. You use it here in Idaho too? Good, good. Glad I'm not the only one. So one of the things that so I was off. Now that I'm done with it, I can let people know, and I generally don't let people know until afterwards. I was on vacation last week. Other than doing a little bit of work to publish last week's sales, I was gone all last week at home, as was just about everyone else, and I'd largely been working at home for the week prior to that as well, just for various reasons, and so last week when I was off work, originally I was going to have my son with me, but because of the coronavirus stuff, that was not possible. So instead, I ended up finding myself just taking a rare week off with just nothing to do. I don't know why Did I already do that? Oh, okay. I thought I'd got them all. Or not done them all yet. So I had an opportunity to like kind of do things around the house, get caught up on yard work, get caught up on a little home improvement work. I finished an end table I've been working on, things like that. But what do I find myself doing? I'm like, okay, here's what I'm not going to do on my week off. I am not going to read the DDO or Lotro forums. I'm not going to listen to your reported posts. And I'm not going to pay attention to most social media. I mostly did that. I was about 50% successful there, but for me, that's good. Actually, I was about 90% successful there. But I thought perhaps going into this first time in a long time, just week off by myself, that I would just kind of take a break from everything, just some whatever. So what do I find myself doing most of the week here this past week while I was on vacation is doing one of two things. Playing DDO, playing Lotro. Unprompted. Nobody made me. I chose to do it, and I enjoyed it. I had a good time. So that's what I actually did a lot of my week off here. More DDO than Lotro, just because I'm going through hardcore right now over on there, and that's there. But I've also been doing a bunch of Spring Festival and questing here as well. So what can I say? I must love my job. There must be some reason I do it. I guess that's why. So. All right. Well, with about 5 minutes left here, I wanted to do a couple of things before I head to chat. Let me call up my general camera here. Hello, everyone. Hey. So, as some of you know, I'm a bit of a... Don't call it a hoarder. I'm not a hoarder. I'm a collector of cool things. And I wanted to show off a couple of my Lotro-related things from my collection here. Or Tolkien-related things. So, first off, these are OG from when I twere a youngin'. I've got the original VHS tapes of both The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings here that I've had since I was a wee lad. Wanted to kind of show that one off there. Recently, I may have shown this off on stream before, but it's been a little while, so I wanted to show you this cool find that I found, I think it was this past summer at a flea market in Massachusetts area here. This is music inspired by Lord of the Rings, and it's copyright 1972 by Buddha Records, who also released, say, some of the classic Captain Beefheart stuff, a lot of kind of hippie-ish recordings, things like that. They went out of business, I believe, by the mid-70s. But for a long time, I know them mostly through the Captain Beefheart connection. But that's a cool record, though, huh? How neat is that? It's about kind of what you'd expect in terms of kind of earthy goofiness of its era. But it's not terrible either. It's actually pretty cool. I mean, you can see this is OG Buddha because it's got the OG Buddha label on it. I can't really get that to pick. There you go. That's how you know it's an OG Buddha record, not a fake or a reprint or something like that. Unfortunately, I don't have my original Lord of the Rings trilogy books anymore. I ended up getting rid of those when I went off while I was in radio, and I had to move a lot, and I had to fit my entire possessions into the back of a Geo Metro at one point, and sold off the Tolkien stuff for cash, which, in hindsight, I wish I hadn't done. I don't know my printed versions very well, but I grew up with a version, a really nice hardbound version of The Hobbit. I believe it was from late 60s, early 70s. And it was like a faded cloth hardback cover with like nice big cardboard on it. I don't know whatever happened to that. I think I must have sold it then, but I've not been able to find it either. So maybe that was Ballantine paperbacks. Those are the ones I had as well. Does Christopher Lee appear in the album? I believe so. It's been a long time since I listened to it. It's not. It's more interesting to me as a collector than as a musician. He's not given on the credits, but yeah, I don't know. Largely kind of organy, sort of droney sort of stuff with some kind of Tolkien style inspired poetry and things on it from Buddha Records. And like I say, also available on Ampex 8-track and cassette stereo. And finally, here today, I have had this since I was a kid. This is one of the old OG Ballantine books as well. I think I picked this up when I was in middle school from the Scholastic Reader at the time. J.R.R. Tolkien, Smith of Wotton Major, and Farmer Giles of Ham, the old Ballantine books. And because this week was Tolkien Reading Appreciation Day, I thought I would read the first chapter of Farmer Giles of Ham for you to wrap up the show. And yes, I've taken off my glasses so I can read it a little bit better here. Farmer Giles of Ham, or in the vulgar tongue, the rise and wonderful adventures of Farmer Giles, Lord of Tame, Count of Wormingall, and King of the Little Kingdom. Forward. Of the history of the Little Kingdom, few fragments have survived, but by evidently a late compilation full of marvels, derived not from sober annals, but from the popular lays to which its author frequently refers. For him the events that he records lay already in a distant past, but he seems none the less to have lived himself in the lands of the Little Kingdom. Such geographical knowledge as he shows, it is not his strong point, is of that country, while of regions outside it, north or west, he is plainly ignorant. In excuse for presenting a translation of this curious tale out of its very insular Latin into the modern tongue of the United Kingdom may be found in the glimpse that it affords of life in a dark period of the history of Britain, not to mention the light that it throws on the origin of some difficult place names. Some may find the character and adventures of its hero attractive in themselves. The boundaries of the Little Kingdom, either in time or space, are not easy to determine from the scanty evidence. Since Brutus came to Britain, many kings and realms have come and gone. The partition under Locrine, Camber, and Albinac was only the first of many shifting divisions. What with the love of petty independence on the one hand, and on the other of the greed of kings for wider realms, the years were filled with swift alternations of war and peace, of mirth and woe, as historians of the reign of Arthur tell us, a time of unsettled frontiers, when men might rise or fall suddenly, and songwriters had abundant material and eager audiences. Somewhere in these long years after the days of King Cole, maybe, but before Arthur or the 7 kingdoms of the English, we must place the events here related, and their scene is the valley of the Thames, with an excursion northwest to the walls of Wales. The capital of the Little Kingdom was evidently, as is ours, in its southeast corner, but its confines are vague. It seems never to have reached far up the Thames into the west, nor beyond Otmoor to the north. Its eastern borders are dubious. There are indications in a fragmentary legend of Georges, son of Giles, and his page Soventurilius Suet, that at one time an outpost against the Middle Kingdom was maintained at Farthingo. But that situation does not concern this story, which is now presented without alteration or further comment, though the original grandiose title has been suitably reduced to Farmer Giles of Ham. So there we go. All right. Anyway, I recommend it. It's a fun little book. I've had it, even though I got rid of the trilogy and all that back in the day, I kept on to this one because I had a sense that it would be a little harder to find. So, there you go. All right, thank you everyone for watching. Court of the Rings here. Corey Olsen's up next. Druid's Fire follows. You can find the full schedule over on twitch.tv/LotraStream. I'll see you next week from home, right here. Have fun, everyone. Bye-bye.